Hey everyone, I'm your host, Robbie Strazynski, and thanks so much for joining us on episode number 34 of Cards Chat, the friendliest poker podcast in town. Today's guest is best known for winning one of the most entertaining WSOP main events in recent memory, when he outlasted 7,221 entrants to take home $8.15 million and the championship bracelet in 2017. And while some poker players would take their newfound winnings and start playing more poker and high stakes, our guest is focused on improving his life and living it to the fullest. An inspirational story on the felt and off the felt since. Scott Blumstein, welcome to the Cards Chat Podcast.
What's up, Robbie? Thanks for having me.
Good to see you again. It's been a while. Let's start off on a bright note. I know that you just got your second dose of the COVID vaccine, not physically, but how does that make you feel up here after a whole pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, I guess pretty good, right? From what I can tell, it's a big step towards getting back to some sort of normalcy, and yeah, it's been a crazy year, but I guess there's some light at the end of the tunnel, right? So I guess it feels pretty good.
Yeah, it's good to hear, man. It's more and more people are reaching that point, and it's great to see the general positive mood. Of course, the past year has been such a year of adjustment and transition for a lot of poker players. A lot of players moved from live to online so they could keep playing, or they just dove deep into the lab and started studying a lot. Have you done anything poker-wise this past year?
It's tricky for me because I've always considered myself more of a live player than an online player. At the end of the day, I mean, online's cool. There was a time where I kind of cut my teeth with it a little bit back when New Jersey got the regulated sites, the first state to get regulated. So I kind of felt obligated to play online back then. But, yeah, as far as the pandemic goes, I haven't really spent a lot of time on poker. I mean, at the very beginning, I was lucky enough to instantly get second in a circuit event. They ran some big circuit events, so that was for a nice chunk of change, and that was really cool because it just kind of allowed me to kind of not completely write the year off financially. I donated a little bit, and
Nice.
yeah, and just it was a good start. And honestly, yeah, from that point on, I just didn't really feel obligated to play, especially online where I know I'm not comfortable, and I know there's people, working a lot harder than me. So,
Did you play any of the WSOP Summer Series online? Because you are in Nevada, so.
so I actually moved to Denver for a little
Oh,
while during the crux of it. I you know, in a time like this, I was really looking for any way to get out in the open, just to have something to do. So luckily, I found a hobby in the game of golf,
uh-huh.
which is impossible to be good at, but at the same time, social distancing wise was perfect. You can get your own cart. I
Yep.
felt comfortable out there. So the Vegas heat in the summer is brutal. It's like 120 degrees or whatever. So
Yep.
I decided to head to Denver for a little bit. I had a couple um just to get out, just honestly just to get, I heard the weather out there is great,
Sure.
so didn't really get to see what the city has to offer, but at the same time it was decent move, and just looking to stay sane and get some fresh air.
For sure. That sounds like a pretty GTO move. That's a
I try to play I try to play as optimally as possible.
For sure. We do have a little bit of a golf question for you later on. I know I already played, but I focused, tennis was my big thing because, that's by definition, you're social distanced and you can still have a good time with another individual also. Yeah, for
Yeah, very
sure.
cool.
Well, since you won the big one, you have had the good fortune just to decide to play poker when you want to and not have to grind for the steady income. But there is, you said you're much more of a live player. There's always something special about the WSOP, and we all know at this point they've announced their schedule for the fall, at least their dates. From 30th September to 23rd of November. Have you given some thought as to playing that and what type of schedule you want to play?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I mean, just again, just to play live poker. I mean, geez, that would be quite the treat these days. I never thought I would miss it. So you don't know what you got till it's gone, right?
Hmm.
So I think a lot of people took it for granted that they could just go to their local casino and play a tournament, or go to the World Series of Poker and play a tournament. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I don't know what my schedule is going to look like. I doubt it'll be, grinding in the way that, like I said, I was never like that before I won the main event. So probably just pick a couple that I like and
Hmm.
just go out. And I mean, if they have some sort of main event, I don't see myself not playing that at least. So we'll
Nice.
start there and we'll figure it out. But honestly, just the camaraderie, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's just going to be a big poker festival of just, there's people that I used to, if they were at my table, I would be pissed. I can't wait to see them. It's funny. So
Not in like because they're a spot at the table, but just you
right, right.
enjoy their company.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
or maybe they rub me the wrong way. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not gonna name, but who knows? I'll play with anyone. Yeah,
that's all.
let's just go sit at a table and play some cards.
All about the hugs. Well, I mean, it's funny you do mention people who were at your table. This is something I've always wanted to ask you. A couple of the big names from your WSOP main event final table. There was Antoine Saoud. There was Ben Lamb. They continue to crush. And of course, there's John Hess, who I love the guy. He charmed his way into all of our hearts. And I know you two remain friendly. In the moment, he was already kind of a story, with his jacket. He had a particular look. I think you were the one who knocked him out of the tournament, right?
I didn't
How?
KO. I didn't sweep the leg. No,
Okay,
that was Ben Pollock. But
okay,
I did most of the damage.
okay. But how did it feel for you when he's out of the tournament?
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
he's the non-pro. He's the big story.
right, right. Yeah. I mean, I think it was the perfect, result for, personally. Like, I think if you told John Hess before the tournament started, hey, you're going to get, fifth place or fourth place. I think he got fourth place. Yeah, fourth
Yeah.
place
Hmm.
for whatever, for $2 million. I
Hmm.
think he would have taken it, right? So, I mean, I can't speak for him, but I think that's a pretty good result for
Hmm.
an amateur with the Hendon mob that he had before. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I really, I can't say it enough. I mean, how can I just, the whole thing was just perfect. I mean, across the board, like, just it was poetic almost, because yeah, I mean, whatever, I coolered him in that massive pot.
Yeah.
And he actually, I give John a lot of credit. I mean, he grinded pretty hard after that. I don't think people realize that he easily could have just phoned it in. He could have just started playing too many hands and just, no, he got right back to grinding. He was making some strong folds. He folded an ace a couple times, I think.
Hmm.
And so he was definitely like fighting to ladder up. And he laddered up a couple spots. I think there were 7 left when that happened. He had 20
Hmm.
big, and he ended up getting 4. So
Yeah.
I think more the power to him. And then at that point, yeah, now we're 3-handed with a big, I know it's at stake, and with 2 good players. And then I
Yeah.
think when John went out, that actually ended the day, right? So we came back the next night.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
I think it just kind of solidified that it was the final boss stage, and
Right.
it was time to play some 3-handed poker, which is
Right. So that's what I was asking. Like, were you kind of secretly hoping, well, no disrespect to John, but he's obviously the easier opponent in principle than, the other players remaining. We kind of like, oh, I hope I could get, he continues the magical run. Nothing like that.
yeah, I mean, I mean, kind of not really, honestly. I mean, whatever. I think again, I give myself credit because I was so zoned. I wasn't worried
Mm.
about stuff like that. You can't control stuff like that, right? So, I think it would have been fun to be able to. I mean, quite frankly, I do find it in a vacuum, right? Like, obviously, poker, the less experience, but like, but it's tricky sometimes in a small sample. If you're 3-handed, it can be tough to play against people that ramp up the variance, or that
Right.
that do stuff like that. So I don't know if it's like that cut and dry either, but yeah, I didn't really care too much. I mean, I was just gonna, I figured that, especially once I cooled him. I mean, at one point he had he was chip leader, right? So
Yeah.
once I knocked him down to like 20 something bigs, I mean, I was the one who got those chips, thankfully, right? So at
Right.
that point,
You can
it didn't,
coast a little.
what do you, I'm not gonna start cheering at the table for him to double up and
I hear that.
visibly start rooting for him, but
Right. Well, unlike other main event winners, you didn't decide to hit, and we mentioned this in the intro, you didn't decide to hit the high roller circuit. And most people would agree that that's the financially responsible path to take. Why did you make that decision? And just generally speaking, you know, you're not risking, $50,000 or $100,000 every tournament you take. Did you have a particular, after paying taxes, did you have some sort of approach of what you did with your earnings?
yeah. So I mean, and I wasn't like completely impervious to it. I mean, I did take a couple. I've taken a couple, shots here and there. I did. The one thing I did was, so I went to Florida. I went as soon as I won. We hopped in a car and I didn't know what to do with myself, so we ended up going to Choctaw for a WBT, and that was my big idea. So
Nice.
you go to Choctaw and whatever, it was, relaxing, and but then after that there was a tournament at the Hard Rock in Hollywood. So I went down there, and like I said, I know with the way the timeline works, it's better to, if you're going to take your shots, to do it right away, in the same year. So I figured I would take my shot at it once, and I hopped in I sold a little bit and played the 25K down there. And honestly, so first of all, the structure wasn't that good. And that was one of the first things that hit me, right? It's like, okay, if I want to play high rollers anyway, I prefer, especially like the money coming from the main event where the structure is, the best ever. It was only like hour levels the whole way through. And I remember people telling me, it's like, yeah, well, recreational players, businessmen who are willing to put up this money, they don't have time to play a really good structured tournament. So once I kind of learned that the higher stakes, there's a little bit more to it, and it doesn't really tailor my game. So for starters, it wasn't even. And then on top of that, it's like I also just kind of realized that I knew where I came from. I mean, I was a $100 online grinder, maybe the occasional Borgata main event if I could find my way into it. Like I just knew my place. I just knew that it wasn't for me. I mean, if anything, I would have done it just to see, like whatever. I guess what it was only, like Mike McDermott says, there's only one way to find out, right? But so I did that, and I played like a 10K at the Poker Masters at Aria once, and that again, the structure wasn't that great, but that field was tougher, right? Now we're talking, it's got all the big names and random guys from Europe coming in with scarves, and I held my own, and I got 7th place, and I cashed. So it was like little things like that, whatever. I took a couple shots here and there, but overall, I just know that that's not really for me. I don't have the, it's just not.
Did it feel good to make your way through those fields as well, like the much tougher field? Is that like, hey, I can hang with them a little?
Sure, I think it's always cool. I mean, I think that's because I think people don't. If you really separate poker into two things, right? There's two aspects. There's like the job money aspect, but then at the end of the day, it's also a game too, right? Like, and that's the part that I think that gets lost a lot of the time is like, whenever you're playing a game, you want to beat people, right? So I mean, I know people. I have friends that have lots and lots of money that play 1-2, and it's like, well, why would they do that? And it's like, again, they just like the game aspect. They just want to play it to try to do, so yeah, I think it's to each their own. And it feels good going up against the best, guys that you can, and I think a lot of it comes down to just like, the one thing I've always had is like not a lack of fear, right? Like that's what, one of the things I attribute the main event success to, whatever. So it's like, when that a good player is attacking you for, if you're thinking you're able to outplay them, it's the same thing with Mike McDermott, right? He came, Johnny Chan was trying to bully him, and he came over the top and bluffed Johnny Chan, right? And that was his moment because he outplayed him, because Johnny didn't think he'd have the stones to come over the top, and he did. So like that's what that's part of what the game is about too, right?
Yeah,
so
you're making me want to rewatch Rounders again. Best movie, best poker movie.
It is.
Something kind of typical of main event winners is they kind of like de facto become, a poker ambassador for the year. And, it's like it unofficially lasts for 1 year until the next main event champion is crowned. To what extent do you still see yourself in that role as like an ambassador for the game?
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that is tricky. I don't. It's like such a weird title because, like, what does that even mean? Like, nobody. It's not like we have meetings or anything. Nobody
Right.
asks my opinion. Right? It's not like I'm. And again, it's cool. I mean, I'm not really like a super opinionated guy anyway. I kind of stay out of stuff anyway. I mean, so yeah. I mean, I guess like more just being like the face of like, well, anything is possible, anyone could win this tournament, I guess, is like more of the ambassador role than like representing something in a bigger way. But sure, I mean, I just try to be like, again, point is like I didn't want to change, just try to be nice to people and just like, I don't know, I mean, I give if people want to autograph, and I no problem doing stuff like that, and yeah, I mean, it's cool.
For
so
sure.
it's
that certainly hasn't changed from beforehand. That more power to you. More people should be like that.
It's crazy. It's one of those funny things, right? It's like when I was a kid, that's how I got into the game, right? I like looked up to poker player. It was like just a weird thing where like I admired poker players. I remember I bought like autograph cards that this company Razor made poker autograph cards. I bought about, and I got like the Daniel Negreanu, Phil Hellmuth dual autograph and a Mike Mizrahi autograph. Like, so I mean, I was like, wouldn't I be a hypocrite to like not, if I was into that stuff as a kid, like how could I not reciprocate that? Because I know that for some reason people are into people that are successful at poker. So,
and now, if I remember correctly, you're on a card, Topps, Allen, and Ginter, right? Is that?
Yeah, my own baseball card. Yeah,
that's so sick, man. That's
yeah,
very cool.
It doesn't get much cooler than that. So,
did you ever want to, like, a lot of pros, part of what they dream, besides coming into money, winning a big tournament, like, oh man, it'd be so cool to be sponsored by a site or something. Is that ever something you wanted to, like, I know you were loosely associated with 888 Poker. You wore the patch for a little bit. Did you ever want to represent one of the big operators?
Yeah, never. Not really an ambition of mine. I mean, nothing I really care to do, honestly. I mean, probably don't see that in my future or anything. I mean, I've enjoyed, like you said, I have a loose partnership with 888. They've brought me in for a couple of events, and they've been nothing but good to me. And and I enjoy, wearing their patch from when I do deals like that, and when I I mean, it was a good experience. So yeah, I mean, just honestly, I don't see myself doing anything full time, but sites that I genuinely believe put on good live tournaments, I have no problem with doing deals with here and there. And I think it's all about how you treat the customer. So it's just like, when I've been at the stops, I see everyone having a good time, and the tournaments are well ran. And but yeah, I mean, online poker, it's a little different, a little tricky. So I don't really mess with that stuff too much.
Cool. Well, I hear that. Well, okay, let's pivot. It's important to change gears in poker. We all know that, right? So as we mentioned again in the intro, since your big win, it could be said that you've made the effort to relax. And that sounds a little, a little ironic, but you've really, tried to live life on your own terms and to enjoy. And I really think that's amazing. Like so many people's like, well, if you win the lottery, then, go lie on a beach. That they have been lying on a beach, but you've decided I'm going to focus on things that are important to me. I know, again, it's obvious, anyone who's seen your win and now seeing you here, you look like a completely different person in a positive way. You made a tremendous push to focus on your health. I know by, you must have lost over 100 pounds or something like that. Am I right? Something like that?
Not quite. Well, that's the thing. You got to look at it at there's two different times. There's let's see, BP and AP, right? Before pandemic and after pandemic.
Okay.
It's been but yeah, like, but yeah, I'd say total, I usually call it like 80. Let's call it 80.
Incredible.
But yeah, still nothing to sneeze at. Yeah, I mean, So yeah, definitely was a priority.
Well, that's actually kind of my question, the BPAP. I mean, I'll speak only of myself. I'm sure there are others out there in the Cards Chat community. I put on weight during the pandemic, the pandemic 15, everyone likes calling it. For me, it's probably more than that. I know, though, you had made a tremendous push, though. It was like a lifestyle choice. I know I listened to other interviews you did, just chicken, rice, that sort of a thing. And, you went to Denver, like you said, living, the outdoors, that was important. To what extent did you find it challenging to maintain that healthier lifestyle? What did you have to do mentally?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, that's been the biggest question of the last year. I mean, where do I start? It's we're looking at about a year and a month now, let's call it, right? I mean, man, like it's been tough. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, I think I think that thankfully, financially, right? I mean, I know it's been a hard year across the board for a lot of people, and thankfully I've had that luxury where it hasn't been a burden on me. But from this other aspect, I mean, I feel it too, right? It's like people might say, so it's like, yeah, it's been hard. I mean, I did the best I could. I fought pretty hard for a while. It was ups and downs, and I battled for a while, and yeah, I mean, even that, it's tricky. Like, I'm just trying to do damage control, right? I mean, I know that hopefully when this thing is over, I can, once I can, and I, make excuses and stuff, but what are you going to do? I mean, it's been a pandemic. Like, it's just hard. So sit around, you're bored.
I've had many a pandemic pint, I know, I know what you're talking about.
But I think it's right. And the truth of the matter is we're not alone, right? Like, I think there's millions of people going through this thing. I mean, it's tougher for me, like, being where I was, like the fact that it is, the defining battle of my life, right? Like, outside of anything else. So it's like, yeah, I mean, what do you want me to tell you, right? It's been difficult, but just try to keep a level head, and I think it makes it much easier when you think about the fact that everyone's going through it, right? It doesn't, it doesn't, I don't know. I mean,
misery loves company, everyone loves that part.
I mean, just not alone. So
it's such a unique thing. The whole idea of the pandemic, it's the first thing that I can think of in world history that literally, I mean, 99 point whatever percent of the entire world's population has gone through this same experience, which is there is something comforting about that, like you said,
Yeah, and again, it's a little like, what are you going to do, right? I mean, it's just the way it's life. I mean, you can't change it. I mean, I wish I'm, and then credit to the people. There's some people that took the pandemic, and I guess they found a way to use it to, but I think I'm not impervious to mental health is tough, especially in anxiety. You don't know what's going to happen. There was that first couple months was brutal. I mean, no one even knew what was going on, and I mean, I think that this has been by far like the toughest battle that we'll have to face in our lifetimes. Hopefully, knock on wood, right? I mean, hopefully, or at least for now.
Well, hopefully, like, just like a sword, you hit it, but it makes the metal stronger. So hopefully that's how we all
and I don't even think it's that easy. I think we need to, I think coming out of this, we're going to need to, I think a lot of people are going to need work, fix it. It's going to be, I think the mental, I don't think we felt, just like the same way I don't think we felt a lot of the effects of what happened yet, right? They say a lot about trauma. You don't really, when you're in it, you don't feel it as, and then once later it starts to hit you. So I think that's what I'm worried about, right? I think things will start to get back to normal and stuff. But yeah, I do think there's going to be a rough period of getting out of this, mentally and financially and all this stuff. So I don't think the battle's over. I do, that's why I think it's like important that we look at that game and try to do something about it, right? I think we do such a poor job as a species of like helping people in this department. So that's kind of what I'm focusing my attention on moving forward, and we'll see what comes of it.
It's very insightful, very profound response. Thank you for saying that. Well, are you still in Denver, or you're back in Las Vegas?
No, I'm back in Vegas now. That was just, that's what I'm saying. That was like a temporary stay.
Okay.
they were doing construction on the building next to me, and I worked in a loophole, or they were like, give us a couple months notice, you can get out. So
Nice.
I was like,
Okay.
yeah, it was kind of annoying. It was waking me up early and stuff. So
Okay. But that's not a Las Vegan accent. You're from back east. Is there anything you missed from those days? Or are you like, no, Vegas is where I need to be, where I want to be?
yeah, I don't know if it's specifically Vegas. I like the West Coast
Hmm.
better. I mean, I just something about the weather and the atmosphere. It does feel a little different out here. So I don't think I'm going to be back on permanently on the East Coast anytime soon.
Hmm.
Just where I end up on the West Coast is kind of to be seen.
Okay.
But yeah, I do like it out here.
Okay. Well, I did promise you a golf question. Obviously, Vegas has some good golf courses, and well, you've been pretty
Oh yeah.
prominent on Twitter about the golf. What do you enjoy about the game?
Yeah, I don't know. I it was so funny because like growing up, I was never a big golf fan. I kind of would talk a little smack about it at the time. I was like, how do people like this stuff, right? I mean, in college, I had some buddies that were into it, and I didn't get into it. But yeah, I mean, I I don't know. I mean, first of all, it's getting outside. It's the hardest. It's a challenging game. I mean, I'm not. I
Right.
struggle to get better. I mean, I don't really put the work in that I need to really get. It's tricky because I like want to be good, but I like don't put the work in. It's just hard. It's just hard. I don't know. So we'll see. Making little strides here and there. I think I'm finally getting good at putting. So that's drive for show, putt for dough, right? So
All right.
I just got to get to the green in like 2 or 3 shots before where the putts matter. So that's the
Uh-huh.
next step. But
Right. Well, it's that
um,
putting for dough. There's some legendary stories of poker players, gambling
yeah,
on golf. Ivy, Sexton, Huxley.
oh yeah.
Have you dabbled a little bit in some golf bets, either on yourself or on the PGA or something like that?
Well, that's how I got into it. Was I started getting into golf by gambling on it, DraftKings and
Uh-huh.
Daily Fantasy, and I mean it was the best. It was honestly the best. Gambling sweat, right? Like I enjoy um, the how fast changing it is. If a guy misses a putt, it's very similar to poker, right? It's like the
Yeah.
drive is the flop, the approach shot is the turn, and then the putting is the river where you guy could be 6 feet away and he misses it, or he could be 30 feet away and makes it. So there's like a fun little flip at the end, and
Yep.
yeah, I just the characters are cool, and yeah, I just something pure about it. I don't know. You got to hit a little white ball 400 yards into a hole, and these guys do it in 4 swings, and it's just there's just something crazy about it, really, at the end of the day, and
Do
it's just so hard. And
do you have like
but yeah,
a favorite foursome that you go golfing with all the time, something like that?
I bounce around. I'm kind of I just kind of hit up there and I've been golfing a lot. A guy pretty well, Ben Ludlow.
Oh,
We've
sure,
been
yeah, great guy.
yeah. So Ben's a great guy, and we kind of he's been playing for a while, so he's got some game to him. And then Drew Amato, I've watched his rise up the golf rankings from a wee lad to now quite the golfer. So
Good
yeah,
stuff.
it's cool. I mean, it's just that's what's cool about it too, right? The social aspect, and
Sure.
I don't know, just something, just being outside, and it's a challenge, right? I mean, every all right. So the best thing about it is you're playing against yourself, right? I mean,
Right.
you're kind of competing against others, but your job is to just get the best score you can and show, and just try to set your own goals and try to get them. So, and it's like the most mental game in the world. I mean, I can literally go across the board, right? It's like there's no game on earth that uh, that's just all upstairs.
Yeah.
There's a famous quote. It was I think it was Bobby Jones, from the 30s. He said, "Golf is a game played on a 6-inch field between your ears," and it's like it's such an old quote, but it's like
Yeah.
to talk about, that's what I'm saying, right? It's you got to know the fundamentals. You got to know, but at the end of the day, it's if you're not there mentally, and I see it on the tour all the time, right? I see these like narratives and these things, and
Yep.
they come true. I mean, guys, just feeling good. And I think poker's the same. It's all the same, right? It's like all
Yep.
about what mindset you're in, and performing.
Yeah, definitely some similarities there. All right, we changed gears yet again, Scott. We always check our guests' Hendon Mob page when we research them, but it's kind of cool when we find an IMDb page for them. You
Ah,
ha- you have a producer credit for the 2019 film For Love or Money, a poker documentary, and you can see for all our audience after the podcast, of course, you can see the entire film on YouTube, and you feature pretty prominently in it. If poker fans are looking for a film they haven't seen about poker, maybe give us the rundown. What's that movie about, and how were you involved in it?
yeah, what a crazy story. I mean, it's really a funny one. I mean, so I win the main event, and a couple of days later, I'm thinking about so I meet this guy through a mutual friend, and he happens to be a filmmaker, and he's like, "Hey, I'm making this poker documentary," and first I'm like a little apprehensive, like I barely know you,
Right.
but then we became friendly over time, and then then I was like, all right, yeah, so maybe I'll be involved a little bit. Well, so yeah, the two of us, we I had a little. He did most of the work. I just kind of at the end, I kind of tied some knots and helped him here and there,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he did a really good job. His name's Mike Bailey, poker player from out lives out in Vegas, and he's just got a real talent for making films, and so it's just a cool story about for love or money, right? We talked about it earlier, right?
Yep.
Why do you play the game, right? Is it to pay the bills, and it's just the interview style, and just you get a lot of different takes from a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life, and just talking about poker, why they like it, how they got into it, and what it means to them. So I know you're a guy that likes to loves the game, and loves talking about it. So I think it's a good watch, a good light watch, and definitely check it out.
Confirmed. Well, one of the
Have you
things
seen it?
I can't say I watched the entire thing, but I watched parts of it.
Cool.
And one of the things I saw is you mentioned in the film that you enjoy watching poker on TV for the characters. And that
Yeah.
certainly resonated with me. I'm sure it resonates with a lot of people. I'm curious, you didn't name names there, but who are some of your favorite characters to watch on poker TV?
Well, like growing up, it was a lot different, right? I mean, I think that the game has definitely changed. I don't know if that's prevalent today. I found myself struggling to get behind some of these guys today. There's something about like just the way the game was. I mean, growing up, come on, Moneymaker and Greg Raymer and Mike Matisow and Sean Chacon. I mean, they just brought this like flavor to the game that was
Hmm.
just appealing, and it was it's kind of like wrestling, right? It's the same thing. People like why do people don't watch wrestling to watch dudes throw each other around? No, they watch it because of the characters, the
Yeah.
storylines. So I just think it's good for the game when that stuff happens, and just but it was always a combination, right? It was like I was enamored by the game, and then just some of the stories of guys building their way up, and so it's cool. I mean, poker content. I mean, like even like a show like 2 Months, 2 Million was like
Yeah.
so cool, right? Like just showing guys on the grind and
Yeah.
stuff. So any kind of content where you can. I think my issue with the way poker on TV is going now, it's right now you just got a lot of super rich guys that are like famous already that come over to that doesn't really do it for me, right? I like the guys that are you
Have
know
have a couple Red Bulls in their system.
yeah, or just like something about. I was thinking about the other day, it's like I think there's a big difference. I think I saw tweets about this too, where it's like I think what people resonated with me winning the main event was like I'm running $1 million bluffs with a couple $1,000s in my bank account, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that I think is cool about poker, and when you need it, and it's just a cool. It just resonates more when guys are playing for something, right? Other than just to play.
Yeah.
So but I got no problem with that either. I think it's all cool, and I just think that poker should be fun at the end of the day. So
Cool. Well, I'm a wrestling fan. Since you mentioned it, this wasn't one of my planned questions, but as far I'm sure there's other, lots of crossover there, some poker and wrestling fans. So, who is the wrestling character equivalent of Scott Blumstein?
I'm not a big wrestler. I just kind of use an example. I never
okay.
Another one that buddies in college, like some poker buddies, they were all in there. As a kid, I just never. Well, this is actually probably an easy one. I don't know much about them, but I'll tell you what. For a lot, growing up, I had a very popular nickname that I was called a lot. Let's see if you could figure out what it was.
A wrestling nickname?
Scotty Too Hottie. Scotty Too Hottie. Okay. I would get that from time to time. I think it was ironic. It was
nice.
Used in an ironic way, but
can you do the worm? That's like his move. That.
Was it?
Yeah, he does the worm. That was his big
so there, exactly. And that's how I play poker tournaments. So
I like it. Now, if you're just listening, you can't see we're making kind of like a wavy motion with our hands. So, one of the questions we always love asking our interviewees here at the CardsChat Podcast: who are the friendliest poker players you've ever faced?
That's a good question. I mean, I really, it's hard to have like too many negative experiences. I mean, from time to time, but man, that's a tough one. There's been a lot of good people. I'm trying to think now. I mean, it's tough though, because poker is it's a tricky game, right? Because so much of it depends how you personify yourself, right? So there's I find that same struggle, right? I'm a normally friendly guy, but I also need to 3-bet you and have you either want to come over the top of me because I have a good hand, or I want you to fold, so it's like there's always some level of manipulation going on the felt, right? So I find it hard to like label people. There's a couple, Frank Stapuchin comes to mind. He's always joking, having a good time. I love like the recreational players that are just there, they're good. They're not afraid to splash it around, but they keep it light. I did get to play with Marcel Lusk in the main event on day 5 or whatever.
So Flying Dutchman, nice.
Quite the treat, right? So
cool.
It's a good question because I don't know.
You picked a couple of good dudes. Marcel's, of course, international from the Netherlands. Further to that Hendon Mob page, I noticed you didn't have any international results. You've traveled a bit in the States and played in a bunch of different places there. Do you ever have any desire to do some international travel and play some poker outside of the U.S.?
You're like the 3rd podcast in a row that's reminded me that I can't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, thanks.
We did not collaborate on the question. I'm sorry.
It's hard. It's like playing an away game. It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's tricky. It's
okay.
But no, I've played a couple of times. I went up to Montreal, which was one of my favorite stops ever. Maybe played a couple tournaments there. I think I was like kind of making some moves. I just fell a little short in there. And then when I went 888, I went to London for one of their tournaments there. So I think that's about the only poker. I think I've only played 3 tournaments internationally. So
okay,
it's not too big of a slight that I don't have one yet. But yeah, you never know. I think traveling is cool, and I'd like to do more of it. I mean, it's been so far from my mind the last year or so, right?
Sure.
So it's like I don't even know when the next time would be. But yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, especially like I said, there's some I like Amsterdam. I mean, hopefully the right opportunity presents itself and we can get that first international flag.
Well, one place we talked about, I think it was at the Global Poker Awards in LA one year. You told me that you might be interested in doing a birthright style trip to Israel. That's where I live, and with members of the tribe, get a little bit more in touch with your Jewish roots. Is there any particular reason that appeals to you?
Yeah, I think unfortunately I missed the boat on there, right? I'm pretty sure at the but whatever, I can add it to my own bill and probably for the best anyway. But yeah, I mean that'd be sweet. I've always I've never been much of an international traveler anyway. It's not like that was something that like I really thought I'd be doing a lot of anyway in that capacity. You see? But I keep telling Doran that's what I'm saying. That's my ticket there. I think is 888. Yeah, so we'll see. I think there was talks about it once, and it fell through. So we'll see. Hopefully, they can get me out there one time, and I can come back to the native land. But I mean, I'm sure, that's what I'm saying, right? It's like there's so many different countries and cultures and stuff, and obviously, being raised Jewish and loosely practicing it today. I'm not super orthodox or anything, but
Sure.
You could still be, you could still go enjoy the experience, right, and not be conservative, right? I mean,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, places are open on Saturday. Lots of things. Haifa. There's a lot. Beach scene in Tel Aviv is a lot to do here.
I mean, obviously, just the Jerusalem. I mean, that's obviously got to be number one on the list. So
sure, cool.
We'll try to get out there.
Well, the last question I've got for you before we move on to our community questions from our community members, you've got a really cool quote in your Twitter bio. A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. That's from Jackie Robinson. Tell me about that, and why did you choose that quote to put there? How do you try to echo that quote in your life?
Yeah, so that story was cool. I was in LA playing Live at the Bike, and went out to lunch with Ryan Feldman and a couple other people, and we were close to Pasadena. And the one thing I knew about Pasadena, I think it was one of my first times in LA, and I always knew that the Rose Bowl was there. Yeah. So we were like, I was like, so somehow I saw a sign, or so I said, let's go check out the Rose Bowl. I don't know, a lot of history there and stuff. So we ended up at the Rose Bowl, and I got out of the car, and a ways away, I saw a statue, and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. So we walked over, and I couldn't tell what it was at first because it was football. It was like a football player, and I was like, who is this? And all of a sudden, I looked at the panel, and it was Jackie Robinson, and I forgot. I should have known. I did a book report on him as a kid, but he was a 3-sport athlete at USC in college. Nice. It was track and field, football, and baseball. So it was a football statue, and on they had a nice cool thing around it, and on it was that quote, and just something about that always stuck out to me, right? I mean, this is a guy who had a real impact on the world, and I don't think I've fully figured out how to but I just try here and there in small ways, and try to do my part, and hopefully one day I can figure out what that really means and go from there. But I think I just have it up there as a reminder that that's something that I definitely would believe is to be true. So
I like that. It's very, very inspiring, and I hope you find that, and then the type of guy you are, you'll certainly act on that to the best of your ability. All right. In this segment of the show, we turn to you guys, our Cards Chat community, to see what questions you wanted to ask our guests. We, of course, have a dedicated thread on the Cards Chat forums for this. So as we announce who our future guests will be, please be sure to send in your questions. Our first ones come from Shells. Thanks so much, Shells, for sending this one to us. Take us back, Scott, to that moment that you knew you won the WSOP main event. I remember that famous thing. You raise your arms, you rush over to the rail, and just put your head down. It's unbelievable. Can you describe the emotion that you felt?
Oh man, it's so tricky. I hate having to describe those feelings because first of all, no, I don't mean it like that. I don't mind it. It's just tough. It's hard to do, right? Because for a couple of reasons. So first of all, people think the irony is that when you're playing in the high intense situation, right? I mean, yeah, it's a lot. Especially the whole time you have to be attentive, right? Just to play to play your best. You got from day 1 to day 2 to day 3, day 4, day 5, right? You're not. There's no real, you're trying to enjoy the moment, but you're playing poker, right? It's right. It's like a competition. So, I think people don't, if you play a basketball game, it's 2 hours and it's, this is a couple days in a row. And so, and then there's 3 days of the final table. And at the final table, I think it's funny because three-handed is actually the most intense. It's when the most is on the line.
Yeah.
You're short-handed, so you have to be in almost every hand, where like if you're full ring, you can fold and enjoy more. So I think it like got that last night specifically was like the most intense and the most. And so, yeah, I mean, I think like obviously, the excitement was just natural. Like, I mean, just, it didn't even, I don't think like, it's so weird. Like, I don't think like it hit me what happened, but just, yeah, you knew something good happened. And so you're happy. But then there's like this feel of relief and this feel of like, just physically you're physically and emotionally drained, right? So
Wow.
it's like, I think it was like a 5-10 minutes of happiness, and then just like, damn, like I can't, that's over. And like I always tell the story that like everyone else had way more fun at the after party than I did. I mean, I was like trying to process everything and trying to just relieved and yeah, I got a great everyone left and I just got a good night's sleep that night. And
Nice.
so yeah, I mean, obviously it was a thrill of a lifetime, but I don't think people realize how long and grueling it is to get there. So
It's so amazing. One of the rare few people in the world who have that exact perspective. So that's so interesting to hear. That's a great question from Shells. She asks another one, or he, I'm not sure if Shells, I think it's a she. I recall that she says that you had sought out Elliot Rowe, who actually was one of our guests here. He was on episode number 20 of the Cards Chat podcast. To help you with your mindset leading up to the WSOP in 2017. How many hours did you spend priming your mind for the big event?
So I only worked with Elliot when I got to the final table.
Uh-huh.
I would have wished I would have loved to, but look, I mean, he's the price is high. I couldn't afford that before I got there, so I had to wait till I was cashing for at least $1 million. Then I brought in Elliot. But yeah, I mean, I think it was very important for just the whole thing. I mean, we talked about again how mental everything in all these games are, right? I mean, how important it is. So he just did a lot of good work of like helping me stay present in the moment and just like trying to understand what was going on. It's just so important to not to just be at a high peak of. I mean, again, it's just such a whirlwind, right? Like it just comes so fast out of nowhere. It's like, again, similar to like, it's like a positive trauma where, you don't even know. So yeah, he was just good at having worked with a bunch of people that have had success. It was just good to like talk to him and just really help, finish the job and just, stay focused and help me like rationalize like how I was even there. Right. I mean, I think I was like, wow, is this really happening? And he'd be like, yeah, like it is. So
kind of like in baseball, I guess, and you got the starting pitcher, then you bring in the closer for the ninth inning, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Nice.
It was the perfect guy to come in and seal the job, and definitely happy I did that.
Cool. Acid Burn FX, another favored member of the Cards Chat community, has this great question for you, Scott. When people come to you for help, what do they usually want help with?
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised. Not too many people come to me for help. That's I think that's part of the. I don't know what. I think they're not sure what value I could provide. It's funny because I think that as I'm saying, like as far as like a poker standpoint, I actually don't really like helping people with poker. I think it's like one of those tricky things where, first of all, like a lot of good players will tell you got to go study actual programs and stuff, and so you can like point people in the right direction. But my style is like a little unique, and it just feels like weird trying to, I don't really like doing that. So but I like, I think when people come to me, I think the best way I can help them would be, again, mentally, right? Like just I do think that that's an important part of it, and I always respected Elliot, and that's kind of my forte. So
nice.
Again, I it's tricky. Like it's not like my phone's ringing off the hook. Like with people like, oh, how'd you do that? It's just, but teach their own. So
cool.
The people that do reach out, all I basically try to, the best advice I try to give is that, first of all, you got to believe it can happen, and then second of all, you got to just trust yourself and think outside outside the box and think for yourself. And like a key point I touched on earlier is that, lack of fear, right? So all I could do is give people my honest opinion of what happened to me. And I think that's actually like the only advice I really want to give. So
I love it. Well, great. Very, very candid and authentic there. Our last two questions come from Crystals. Thanks so much, Crystals, for sending these in. Scott, where do you want to see poker go in the next 5 years?
that's a great question. Yeah. I don't know if there's a perfect answer. I don't think it needs to do anything more than what it's already doing. I think that the WSOP numbers have been good every year. People that enjoy the game, they enjoy it for whatever motive they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that there needs to be some sort of huge goal or like try to get. I don't even know what that would look like. Again, it's not. It's unique in itself that it has to be this thing of ambiguity, because it's not like a professional sports league where the people that are competing are the best, right? It's
Right.
like there's too much going on. There's too many moving pieces. So look, I think it's great. I think like the World Series is obviously the cream of the top of the line, and as long as that series goes on, people can come out and play. And I don't know. I wouldn't do anything too crazy. I think that, like I said, I mean, maybe just try to get a little bit more entertainment in the game, and just make it appealing for people to play. But I don't really have a great answer to that question.
Okay, that's fair. Well, we do have the last question, and this one I'm very interested in. Very very insightful kind of question here from Crystals. You've won the big one, Scott. That's the one that everyone kind of has on their bucket list, but you've done that. So, what is the one tournament you still want to win?
Wow, that's a good one. Yeah, I my first instinct would probably be like a WPT is probably my I think it makes sense. It's like the next biggest tour. I think 5 Diamond is a cool one. I always like that one in Vegas, at the Bellagio. But yeah, it's like I don't there's no real thing that I like am craving. It's weird. I do think that the main event is clearly just like on another level, right?
Sure.
Like I do think that it's like, I think it's actually wild that like, I don't know what could come close. Like there's nothing, so I don't think that that there's anything like I'm desperate to win, because
Right.
it's like like you said, that was the big one. I
Sure.
mean,
Well, WPT is definitely a very legit answer. I thought you were going to say like a $235 daily deep stack or something like that.
yeah. So right now I'm just trying to focus on winning my home game tournament with a fun group of people we play on Thursday nights. I can't even do that. So before I start worrying about regular 1,000-person field tournaments, I'm just trying to win my my home game.
I love it. Well, I love it. Like, I love the fact also, I'll just say before we close out the show, I feel like ever since I first met you, we've really got along pretty famously, and like,
Yeah.
you're such a down to earth, wonderful individual. I'm not saying it to blow smoke in you or anything like that, but here's someone, you look in the news, oh man, a man wins $8 million in poker. Hasn't changed you at all. You're just so down to earth, such a regular guy you want to go ahead and get a beer with, and just more power to you. And that's something just they say the best lessons are caught, not taught. And people who have been exposed to you in any way, shape, or form, they can learn a lot of lessons about how to live life. So really, Scott, just good stuff, man. Keep that going.
Yeah, it's important to me too, because like I said, poker is like the perfect. It's like, I actually like you asked me about the ambassador, right? That's to say, there's one thing I can do. It's just that, right? It's because it's the one game where it's the easiest thing to have imposter syndrome in, right? It's like anyone can enter. Like yes, did I know? But it's like, there's people say all the time, right? There's variance. There's lots of luck in you don't know if you won because of skill or luck. It's like some combination, right? There's no like defined and these other games are, it's true in everything, but like there's nothing where it's more true than poker, right? So the point is like I don't really care. I know that I do, I know that I know that it happened. I know that I played some role in it happening. And it's like there's no reason to like think that there's any reason to be different, So and I've learned, there's plenty of there's other athletes like that and stuff. I'm not the only one doing it. So I think it's a good way to be, and I hope the next main event winner follows suit.
Cool. I like it. Well, thanks to everyone who sent in questions for Scott Blumstein. Of course, a friendly reminder to all of you in the Cards Chat community. We'd love to see you submit your questions for our future podcast guests in the dedicated thread on the forums. And if you like the show, please be sure to give us a good review on iTunes and spread the words via your social media channels. Scott, before we let you go, anything else you want to tell our listeners and people watching?
Just like I said, the pandemic looks like, hopefully we get out of this soon, and just try to do everything you can to take care of yourselves and take a priority on mental health, and then let everything else come. And I'll see everyone at the World Series of Poker in September. That'll be quite exciting.
Amen. Well, thanks a lot, Scott. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Cards Chat Podcast. I'm Robbie Strazynski. You can follow me on Twitter at CardPlayerLife. I wish you all a wonderful day.